I hope everyone's doing great. I'm waiting for a few more people to join and then we can go ahead and get started. But my name is Maria Hernandez. I'm an implementation specialist here at vintrace, and I will be walking you guys through just a little bit of post harvest cleanup. So, pretty much correcting some inaccurate fruit intakes, how to clean out sold fruit if your winery does receive fruit, but then it's being sold out to another facility, topping your fermentation barrels to capacity, merging any barrel groups, or just loaner barrels that should be part of a barrel group. If you guys do have any questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A, um, and I will be answering them um, after the webinar. Or if I can see them as I go, I will be answering as well. And also, if you cannot stay for the full-on webinar, it shouldn't be that long. I'm anticipating hopefully like 30 minutes. So I won't keep you guys too long, but if you do have to leave, this webinar will be recorded and then it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel within a couple of days. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So again, my name is Maria. For those that just joined, I'm an implementation specialist here at vintrace, and let's start covering a little bit of post harvest. And just before I dive in, a little bit about your database. Just remembering you do have a sandbox. If you need to go in there, practice any new employees, train them up in the sandbox, it's here. If you need to change your password, if it's been compromised, you can do that here, or simply when you log out, just click on forgot your password. You'll have your password reset via email. And also with the Use My Sandbox, only your local vintrace administrator can refresh the sandbox. And then help and support. This is where we live. If you have any questions, give us a call, sending us an email to support@vintrace.com. And then searching the help center. This one is good because you can come in here and see a bunch of resources that we offer. Just in case you are wondering how some areas in vintrace work. For example, using vintrace, you will see areas within different modules in vintrace. So the focus today would be harvest or post-harvest, I should say. So we do have the section for harvest here. So just knowing that these are available, any user can log in here and check out our help articles. And then down below, we do have webinars. Same deal. We try and do webinars throughout the year based on what wineries are doing, and you'll have a list of those webinars here. And this is where you can come and look for this webinar once it gets uploaded onto our YouTube channel. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And for the first bit of the webinar, I want to head on over into our fruit intake. Right. All right, come on. Sorry about that. I think my internet is not the best today. All right. So once you are working within your fruit intake console, once you have received, weighed all your fruit and processed, you can always go back and make any changes, edits. Maybe you double booked fruit, you received the wrong block, or your block has the wrong appellation or the wrong variety. You can change that within your fruit intake console. You really don't have to go in and undo all of your work that you've done already in tank. So pretty much, I'm just defaulting my vintage and I'm just gonna go with last 7 days. That's where I want to be working and save. So that will reprint your Waymaster certificate and it'll carry correct numbers. So if you do need to reprint that. All right. And then the other one would be if you brought in a block by accident, you chose the wrong block, and you've realized that that's incorrect. Even if the block has made it through all the way to tank, it can already be in barrels. It doesn't matter as long as you know exactly that. For example, this Malbec should be a Pinot Noir. Again, I don't have to roll back anything. I can just come back to the fruit intake and find my block that I need to edit. And this Malbec should really be a Pinot Noir. So I would just go next to arrive, drop down the arrow, and again, completed intakes and correct. Under grower block, this is where I can just tick the X and swap out for my Pinot block. And then everything will change based on what's assigned at the block level. If for whatever reason the sub AVA was incorrect, you can really tick and remove these, but you do have the pencil next to the block. So on here, you can tick on the pencil, and this is where you can change, where is it? Maybe I lied. I don't think you can change it from here. Um, I'll come back to this. I thought we can change it from here. But we've changed the block to show that it's no longer a Malbec, but we're correcting in the block to show a Pinot Noir variety. And okay. And again, a reason for the correction. So variety correction. And again, you'll have your reprinted Waymaster for your records to show the correct block. If you need to reprint any Waymaster certificates, if you do need multiple copies, there is a setup also under winery setup where you can say that the winery needs a copy, your driver needs a copy, and the grower needs a copy. But also, if you don't have that set up yet, you can always just highlight what you are wishing to reprint, highlight, and then under print, you've got your way tag. So we can go with way tag original, and that will give you your Waymaster certificate to reprint. I don't have any analysis here, so if you do notice that you're missing analysis, maybe you did need to bring in some intake analysis and you missed them, you can always go back again as long as you have access to this little drop down here. You can go under completed intakes, correct, and you can pretty much again correct weight, block, the vintage. Under QA cost analysis, this is where you can come in here and say edit analysis. I've got my bricks, but I want to add in a temperature. And this will be at the fruit level. So you'll have at the fruit level. And then if you do have your juice panel, you'll have the option to run reports that will be at the fruit level, which is this intake here, or your juice sample, which is pretty much at the tank. And save. So then you'll have that here. Also, if you're looking to add in cost to your fruit, same deal. Just come back in here, click correct. You've got the adjust cost. Also, make sure that if you should be seeing costs or you have um, you're on the accounting team and you need to add the cost, make sure that you do have all the permission. Costing in vintrace is driven by permissions. So just making sure if you need to add in the cost, come in under QA cost analysis, add just cost, and this is where you can plug in a cost for the fruit. It can be based on these categories here, but we typically see like a price per ton or a total cost. So I can come in here and say this is $3,000 per ton, and that will flow through. Again, it doesn't matter where, what stage your wine is. Right now, it's in barrels. That cost will flow through. Freight cost, I will add in $150, and that it will be a total cost. If your fruit is also driven by grower contracts, that grower contract will be defaulted in here. And if that grower contract is missing, you can always just plug in the contract here and that cost will flow through. And again, your reason for the correction. And save. So now we will have the bricks, the temperature that we've updated. We can see the cost here, but just know that it will show up in at the batch level, wherever you have it, whether it's in tanker or barrel. All right. Also, one that's sometimes coming up a lot is you've brought in your fruit and you have the incorrect date, especially if you're playing catch up. Maybe you didn't have time today to enter your weight tag, so it will happen till tomorrow. So it's easy to be working in vintrace and you're trying to get everything entered, and you can easily just ignore the date or just say now, and you're stuck with an incorrect date. There is a way to fix it. So you can't really do it from here. You would have to go either from the job section, looking at the tank or barrel group, or you can do this from your dashboard and then navigating down to uncrushed parcels. And let me just, okay, let me just go with my vintage 2023 search. And just clicking anywhere, or not anywhere, clicking on the fruit intake here. So you'll have a history tab. And by going under history, you'll have pretty much anything that has happened to your fruit. So pretty much we've just literally weighed in fruit. And then clicking view, now you have the ability to fix a date. This was not available accessing this through the fruit intake, but it will be available here. So then we can just go fix date, and then you'll have restricted timeframes that you can work within. So new date needs to be before 12/7. So this is where you can come in here and just change this and say this happened on the 5th, or before that. Okay, and that should do it pretty much. If I close out of here and do search, and if I go back in, my date should reflect the 5th now. All right, and then since I'm already in this area, this is where you would also clean up any sold fruit that you have. And again, if this gets cluttered, you do have the option to search by owner. So if I just search sold fruit and run the search engine, you'll have just those bookings that are set for vintage 23 that is sold fruit. The way to clean that up would just be same deal, go back into the fruit intake. And you do have the measuring tape here, or under operations. This is all you can do to the fruit at this stage. And it'll just be a measurement. And you'll specify when this is taking place. So pretty much, I would say go back to this date. That's when I'm going to measure down my fruit. So measuring tape, 12.3. Who did the measurement? And then my new amount will be 0. So I am losing 100% of the fruit, and the loss recent will be due to sold fruit. And save. So here, this fruit intake probably is attached to one of my grower contracts. That's why I am getting some cost here. And for the most part, you won't have this, but if for whatever reason that fruit, something happened to it that you unexpectedly couldn't keep it or something, but you still want to transfer that cost somewhere else, you have 2 options. So you can write it off. We're losing it. It's not going anywhere. Or you can transfer the cost somewhere else if you do have another block somewhere in the system where you have weight against it. So in this instance, I'm just going to write it off. All right, so that's measured down to 0. And then that disappears, and then you'll just work your way through and cancel out that sold fruit. All right. And also a good way of seeing here uncrushed parcels, if you know that maybe you do have some sitting tons or small amounts, it doesn't necessarily have to be sold fruit that you're clearing out, but it can just be small quantities that were just left behind. And that can also be used, that measurement can also be used to just zero out that fruit, just so you don't see any sitting uncrushed parcels in here. Now I am moving into the vessels page. And now let's start working with some of that fruit that we've processed into our tanks or our barrels. But one of the ones that maybe you guys will be doing just with harvest being late, maybe you're topping off your barrels post fermentation. So you're ready to go from that 55 fermentation fill height to a 60 or 59. And by doing that, you pretty much will do a multi-topping for that. So I will find the wine that I selected for this operation. So it's my 23CH poly. So once we pull up the wine, if I click into the barrel icon, you can see that my barrels are currently sitting at 55 gallons each. And I want to get them to a full capacity. And again, to do that, I will go under operations. And again, this can also be a work order. And let's find a multi-topping operation. And I've got my vessel. It's a pretty much, my topping will be a self-topping. And my topping mode will be increase volume by amount. On the left side, I want to work out how much wine I ended up using. So this is where I will choose and say I used the first barrel. It's empty. And work out the volume from barrel details. vintrace will calculate out how much volume based on your fill description. This is empty. We're locking out only 55 gallons. Now on the right side, now I want to work in those gallons to fill up to capacity. So clicking into the calculator with the barrel icon, I've got my 0 at the top. That's the barrel that I emptied on the left side. Now I want to remove that. And I want to highlight every other barrel and set as full. So that's giving me a 60 gallon per barrel capacity. My transferent volume for that will be 50 gallons. Um, and any loss here, the loss reason will be topping. So that'll be considered an evaporation loss once you run your reports. And then your date when that took place, I'm going to say that this happened yesterday or today. Just kidding. And save. So based on your loss threshold that you have under your system policy, you may notice that you'll get these messages. I'm losing 9% based on my threshold of 3% that I have. And this can also be changed. This can be higher if you're looking at a 5%, a 10%. And again, this can be set up at the winery setup level. All right, so now if I go and look at my 23 Chardonnay, oops, that's the wrong one. Oh, no, that's the right one. Now we can see that they're 60 out of 60. So that'll be a multi-topping for your post-fermentation fill heights. Also, if you do have, let's say that you have a tank and you're putting wine into barrel, the proper operation to do that, if you do want to group in your barrels into a barrel group, the proper operation would be a transfer and then transfer to barrel group. That way we can group them together. But there are instances where we choose a one-to-many, thinking that this will group our barrels together. But what this will do, it'll just keep them separate. You can group them in the system. It's fairly simple. So under batch, I am going to look for my wine. So this one will be my 23CH poly. My other poly was poly 2. This is just my single poly. And I am looking for barrels. So I have also some of this in tank, toggle over to barrels. So now I can see that I've got 5 barrels here that should really be grouped together. So to do that, you pretty much just highlight. So this is really nice about the vessels page that you can, as long as you can highlight a few wines, you can work your way and do many operations, lab work, operations. For this, we want to go with a many to one. And we want to group them. So our destination vessel, clicking on the plus sign will allow us to create that barrel group to group them together. So this will be, I'm just going to call this my 23CH poly BG for barrel group. And then choose your designated storage area where they live. So now it's you knowing what barrels we're plugging in here. So adding a line and typing in your barrel codes. Or if you know that these are going to be combined, what I like to do is I like to have them copy them over into like a spreadsheet and then just come in and use the list function here where you can paste in those barrels instead of you having to go in and add them in one by one. So for that, let me go and grab those barrels that I've already have on my spreadsheet and copy them and paste them. So those are just pretty much these guys that we have on the left side. And okay. All right. All right. There we go. Um, all right. So this one I don't end up needing. I'll just remove that. But now you can see that we have grouped those 5 barrels, and you will see the little kind of exclamation like, hey, this barrel is full. Um, and it's fine. We are just grouping 5 barrels together. It's the same wine. We're just combining. Um, all right. So we've got that in there. So now we can click save. And then that should have built us in a barrel group. So we wouldn't have these sitting out as single barrels out there. All right. On, you can do it. All right. So, and then I want to use the same barrel or the same blend ID. I am not changing that. That'll be the same. All right. Come on, you can load. All right. While it loads, we do have a question. So it's a splitting tickets a month later, how to attach them both to the work order after the fruit is no longer available in the original vessel. So for that, if I'm understanding correctly, um, if this is um, maybe if you can send us an email to support, but I'm guessing that the fruit was missed and didn't make it to the work order or the tank. And if that's the case and the gallons are correct, we don't need to change in volume. We should be able to fix on the back end. We should be able to attach that fruit into that extraction work order. So if that's what you are referring to, send us an email to support and we should be able to help. All right, so 59 gallons out. That's exactly what I need to transfer out of each barrel. And once we save this, Vintrace will say that you are overfilling. I believe if you do get that message, that is just we're combining the barrels. So shouldn't worry about that. All right, so it should be an even 295. The barrel group is for 295 barrels, so or 295 gallons. Right. Come on. There we go. Fermenting. Gonna say yes, yes. And these usually pop up depending the vessels that you're combining, the ferment state. So that's just acknowledging, yes, my wines are still fermenting. So now we should have that will be a barrel group. So 23 Chardonnay. Now we have them combined into a barrel group here. And then there's also always, sometimes depending who's writing work orders, maybe 2 work orders were written, and you ended up with 2 barrel groups. They're pretty much the same wine, same composition, nothing has changed, but you have 2 barrel groups sitting out there. You can combine them, even though they are already two barrel groups. So if I look for my 23 cab, I've got these 2. They're pretty much both the same blend ID, same variety, composition is the same. I don't want 2 labels of the same. I don't want to pull 2 samples for them. It should only be 1. Um, so you can also combine them. It'll be the same operation, pretty much. You can come in here and say, I want this wine, and under action, you can say that is either one. Let's just say a one-to-many. Or not a one-to-many. Let me just, actually, it'll make more sense. Click into the batch, and let's just go operation and transfer to barrel group. I've got the barrel group on the left side that I need to combine. And my transfer to barrel group, it's pretty much the same one. I just need to choose the one that I don't have selected right now. And I think that one's the period one. So that's the only difference that I can tell. Like, it's just we added a period to one of them, but technically is the same wine, same composition. So if you do have this, you can combine them. You don't have to transfer them out to tank into like a dummy tank or a phantom. You can do it this way. Vintrace won't yell at you or anything. So we want to make sure that in the barrel list here, you know what barrels you will have to copy over. So again, same deal, you'd want to copy them. And here I've got my list. So I'm just going to click into the list and highlight the barrels that I need to combine, copy. And now I want to go under my transfer to barrel group, and I want to click into the calculator with the barrel and go into the list and just paste them here. And click OK, and that will add all of them in here. And again, same deal. Your little exclamation, these barrels are full, but it's fine. We're combining. So now we're transferring in 295. Our total new volume will be 590, totaling to 10 barrels. So click OK. We're not gaining or losing anything. This is just, again, combining barrel groups. And it's just saying, hey, you're blending components, which is just saying, you've had them in separate barrel groups. That's all that is. And now it'll say that we're overfilling the barrel group. And yes, because we're adding 5 whole barrels in there. And again, fermenting, it's fine. It's not out of spec. If you get this message and you know that it's well within spec, just shoot us an email and we'll take a look. All right, so that's combining 2 barrel groups. So now if we take a look at our 23 cab, now we've got a total of 10 barrels, and we don't have any other existing barrel groups. We've got a tank and a barrel group. All right, and then moving on to, since a lot of my wines were saying, hey, these are fermenting, moving on to stopping ferments. So if your wines are currently going through fermentation and you're ready to stop the fermentation on them. There are a few ways that you can do this in vintrace. One of them could be with an SO2 addition. So you can set up a template under winery setup and say that the template will be called, let's say, SO2 to stop ferment. So you can add a little bit of SO2, do a multi addition, and that can stop the fermentation. You've got the ferment state filter that you can come in here and select what you want to look for. And I want to go under fermenting. I just want to see those wines that are currently going through fermentation. And if you need to stop those, let me go under tanks, stopping ferment. So the other way would be clicking into the actual wine and going under the fermenting state, whether it's primary or malolactic. You can do a start and stop here. So now here we can stop the fermentation. Just do your date and time when the fermentation stopped and save. The other way would be, it'll be the same operation, but here you can come in and highlight just based on and it'll help if you have your latest labs on here. Like, I know these are done, highlight, action, and go and do a treatment to the product. And this can be stop ferment. And that pretty much writes up a work order for you. And it'll just do a treatment to stop the fermentation. Under more options, we also have the ferment console. And you can also stop fermentation this way. So you can run date ranges. So if I go back to, let's say, September 1st, you'll have a list of all the wines that are currently going through fermentation. And you can just come in here and say stop. You will also get the same screen that we got before. So now stop today and save. So then that'll be removed from your list. And going back to the vessels page, we're done with fermentations. Maybe we have some red wines that we need to press off. So running a press cycle in vintrace. So if you do process your fruit as a must, when you run it through an extraction, you want to make sure that you do run it through a press cycle in vintrace. That's when you'll get your true gallons. So for that, I will go into one of my 5-ton tanks. So it's a must. So under operations, press cycle. So on the left side, you'll have your tank, your gallons, your estimated gallons, and then your tons that are currently sitting in tank. You'll specify how much of that you're pressing out. If you are saugnéing with the press cycle, you can also, or actually if you want to saugné, you can use a press cycle to do that and just say that you're taking out 50 gallons and say that it's due to saugné. For this example, I will do the full tank. I'm pressing out the tank. You can press back into the same tank, or you can choose a different tank. So here, I'm just going to say TK. I'm going to go here. And my fraction state will be combined, and then your true gallons will be here. So this is what you ended up getting after pressing. So I'm going to say 1,000 gallons. And then you're gaining 250 gallons due to pressing. So once we complete this operation, again, if your wines are still fermenting, vintrace will ask you if you want to stop ferment, or you can ignore. And then the M will turn to W for wine after you're put the wine through a press cycle. All right, my loss is out there. So here, fermenting, you can choose to ignore or say okay. All right. And once you stop fermentation in vintrace, depending on what your setup is, but if you stop the fermentation, you sometimes you'll be prompted with a message that if you'd like to declare your wines. And there is in winery setup, you have the option to skip wine declaration, meaning that once you're done fermenting, you wouldn't get that message. So you have to set up a reminder, let's say at the end of the year, let's say next week. I need to set up a reminder that next week I need to declare all my wines. So that'll be the next one, declaring your wines. Again, you can declare as you go, but if you or your winery just waits till the end of the year, just declaring your wines again, non-declared. One of the ways would be just manually coming in here and you've got the non-declared section, clicking into the building, the TTB information, and clicking declare this wine. The wine declaration console will come up. So based on your current alcohol metric, vintrace will say, all right, this is 13.76. So we'll put this under the not over 14%. So this is at the state level. And then you have to be careful with your declaration date. We're safe because we're in December, but come next year, we go away on holiday, we come back in January and you say, I left on holiday, I forgot to declare my wines. This date will probably be, let's say, here. So you can easily come in here and say, yep, that's correct, and declare all. So you've declared in the new year. So for this one, you would have to roll back your jobs if you've continued working and done maybe some SO2ing, you bottled already. Those operations will need to be rolled back in order to declare back in December. So something to keep an eye on is your declaration date. December 31st, or before you go on holiday, December 15th, and declare. Oops. Yes, I know that. Declare. And this wine declaration console, if you want to declare multiple wines at the same time, this is also available through more options and TTB declare wines. So it's blank. I'm just going to search and then I have those wines. So if there is a blank, there's no alcohol metric, but you know the tax class, you just haven't entered an analysis, you can come in here and select. But again, by you entering recent alcohol analysis, vintrace will say, all right, based on your alcohol metric, this is where we think this should be. And if you're like at 13.99, you're not 100% sure, is it over, is it under, rerun that lab analysis and declare. And then if you're ready to declare all, let's say I'm going to say this is 14 to 16. I'm not ready to declare that one. And you can just click declare all instead of clicking one by one. And they're all declared. All right. And then quickly just jumping under inventory. So this is just cleanup for additives. Are we looking to do a little bit of cleanup before the holiday ends? We've got some free time. Let's go look at some of our yeast. Search. You can come in here and based on the categories, you can see where you're at. If we're just looking for small quantities or negative amounts that we've gone into, you can play around with the minimum and the max. We can give you reports, so a physical inventory sheet. And this is, again, hand off to whoever's doing inventory counts. We also have blind inventory sheets that do not have what you currently have on hand. And any negative, if I go -1, anything that's giving us red numbers, you'll see that here. And then to enter a physical inventory, that's just clicking under enter physical inventory, and that will give you, based on your search, anything that's populated, you'll have here. So this is where you can come in here and say, I have 0. And if you are keeping track of cost in vintrace, you want to make sure that you want to keep the unit cost, so that cost goes away with the adjustment. Or if we're gaining, let's say we have, I don't know, oh, that's grams. I'm going to say, I don't know, 50,000 grams. Whatever amount I'm gaining, I'm also gaining that cost with it. Your date and time, and save. All right. And then a little bit on the reporting side. Um, if you are looking to add in cost to your fruit, and again, this can be once you're receiving the fruit through the QA cost analysis tab at the intake level, or you can come under vintage harvest and you can run the grape delivery report as a CSV format for vintage 23. And you can give us a total cost there, and then you can submit it to support and we can upload fruit cost for you. And the way that report will look like, you pretty much will need the date, your weight tag, your net tons, the block, and then the total cost. So this will not be a cost per ton. This will be the total cost of these 12 tons. So my 12 tons will give me a total of $54,000. And you can also see any contract attached to your fruit. You can see that that has already been attached. I've got Maria's contract that's bringing me in some cost. But any other blank, it could be that you just forgot to attach the contract to it, where that can be done through the fruit intake QA cost analysis screen that I showed earlier. Or if there are no contracts and you need to get fruit cost in there, you just add in a column, call it total cost, and then give me a total cost for the fruit. So here, 29 tons. Okay, this one's, and then give me, this is going to be, I don't know, $200,000, for example. All right. And I think that does it for the post-harvest webinar. I don't see any other questions in the Q&A. I will hang out for a few more minutes. If you do have some questions, please plug them in and I can answer them as I go. But thank you for joining me, and I do apologize for the technical difficulties that I had. I'm going to blame it on, there's people outside cutting trees, so I'm blaming it on that. But again, I apologize for the delay. Thank you. Yes, so that email to send fruit cost, let me just plug it in to the help and support here. So it's pretty much just support@vintrace.com. So that's where, and let me just type it in here as well. Right. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in. If you do have other questions that they come up to you later, just send them over to support, or if I've missed anything, just shoot us an email and the support team should be able to help. Again, thank you so much for joining me. Have a great rest of your day.